What's the average age that most Americans retire, and how does that compare to when you're hoping to be done? I've got that and the trends, that and more coming up. My name's Mike Bernard. I'm the host of the Wise Money Show. I'm also one of the certified financial planners right here at Korhorn Financial Group. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and smash that thumbs up button. All right, so when do you want to retire? When I was first entering my career, I thought I want to retire in my 50s. And why did I think that? Well, number one, going to work feels like I don't have as much choice with my time as that I would want. And yet, of course, if you have a whole bunch of choice with your time, but you don't have a lot of choice with your finances because you haven't saved up enough, or you don't have enough income, or you're just all the money that you're earning is going to pay for health insurance or whatever, well, that's not retirement. That's not really enjoyable. As I've grown and gotten wiser, I realized that urge, that desire to retire earlier is really just a desire to improve on the previous generation. So much of the American dream is that each generation, life gets a little bit better. And yes, it's all sorts of problems. And thanks to social media and 24-hour news networks, we know all about the problems going on right now. But yet, there's lots of studies out there that actually objectively show life is officially improving and getting better. When it applies to finances, one of the ways that we just intuitively think, well, life's getting better, is if you can retire sooner than the previous generation. And I would have thought that as well. And I would argue that's not how finances work, because one of the components to actually, having a better life is living longer, having access to better health care, and therefore making healthier choices and living longer, which is what we have going on right now. Maybe a better life is having a more fulfilling, rewarding job. Lots of people a couple generations ago just simply worked in a factory for more of an authoritarian boss saying, you've got to do this, demanding these sorts of things. And thankfully, that's not most of us. There's still some environments of that, but that's not most of us. So people are willing to work longer because they enjoy their career and what they get to do. So circumstances change, of course. But right now, what's the average age at which people are retiring? And how has that trend changed over the past few decades? The average age of retiring here in the U.S. right now is age 64. Age 64. And what would you have guessed? 65? 66, which is, nearing the full Social Security, full retirement age for Social Security. 67 is officially what it is right now. So 64, does that line up? You know what? It's interesting. I would have said, yeah, probably mid 60s is average, and that's what it turned out to be. But a couple decades ago, what was it? And that's the interesting part. A few decades ago, the average retirement age was 62. So the trend is that people are actually working longer. They're retiring later in life. And, only time will tell, but will that trend actually continue? Will today, it being 64, will a decade or 2 decades from now, the average retirement age be 66 or 67? We will see. What are some of the factors, before we get into how to apply this to your situation, what are some of the factors that are possibly contributing to this trend being that people are retiring a little bit later? Well, first, I think, and I mentioned it already, I think one of the factors is people are living longer. Back when Social Security obviously is on a path towards change. It's currently not set up to, it's not stable, it's not sustainable. We're going to need to make some changes. Otherwise, Social Security will be insolvent here in about 12 years or so. So we've got to make some changes. But when Social Security was first introduced, the average life expectancy wasn't that long. You could draw your Social Security at 65 and you're going to draw on it for 5 to 10 years, and then life expectancy was you were going to pass away. Well, now people born today, their life expectancy is into their 90s, right? And on average, people are living into their mid to late 80s right now. And so your retirement is going to last longer. And therefore, it's prudent that you would work a few more years to save up or let your Social Security grow a little bit more so that you can enjoy that retirement because living longer is going to last a little bit longer than previous decades. I think a second contributing factor to the retirement age being pushed back a little bit is fewer and fewer people and jobs have pensions, offer pensions. And so when you retire, it used to be the three-legged stool, financial stool, the income stool is what you would be replacing your paycheck with. And those three legs were Social Security, your pension, and then investments, withdrawing from investments that you'd saved up. Well, right now, for most people, it's the two-legged stool. And that one you can't really sit on. That's not stable. And so you've got to save up even more so that you can supplement your Social Security with enough income so that you can, not have a decrease in your standard of living. And so I think the reduction of pensions means that it's more on your shoulders to save up, and people might need extra time to save up, or they just might need to work a little bit longer so that retirement is a touch shorter than it otherwise would have been. And then I think that's probably the last criteria the last factor why people are working a little bit longer is I think they do need to save a little bit more. There's lots of studies based on, how much does the average person have saved up for retirement. And when you look at the averages, it's disappointing. There's a retirement readiness gap. And I think working a little bit longer, we've done lots of shows on this, provided lots of content, working even 1 year longer so that you've got money contributed to retirement as opposed to withdrawn. You've delayed that Medicare and health insurance decision just a little bit more. You've got another year for your Social Security to grow. All of those factors mean just even working 1 more year, if not 2, can make an enormous difference on your retirement confidence and success. So how do you plan ahead? Is it 64? Were you thinking like me that, I want to be done in my mid to late 50s. We serve people that retire at 70, in their mid 60s, early 60s, in their 50s, or even the FIRE movement. We serve folks in that stage as well. But really, determining when you can retire, it all depends on 5 factors. We've talked a lot about this in the past, but what age do you want to be done? And obviously, that's the variable that we're focusing on here, or that this study focused on. So, what age do you want to be done? But how much do you want to spend? And baked in there is health insurance, that if you want to retire early, that was one of the things, that light bulb that came on for me early in my career was, gosh, if I'm going to retire in my 50s, I got to figure out health insurance. That means I've got to save up even more and so on. So how much do you plan on spending? What's your plan with health insurance? How will inflation impact that, all of that? What are your income sources in retirement? So how are you going to optimize Social Security? Are you going to build out a three-legged stool where you're going to have another source of income, whether that's some sort of real estate investment or some other sort of investment that's providing income? How much do you have saved up, and how much are you currently saving is the 4th variable. And the last one is, how much investment risk are you comfortable taking? And just a quick side comment on this, because most people sort of dismiss this. Well, if you get to retirement and you can't stomach any market volatility, then your investment rate of return or assumed rate of return is going to be a lot less. And I'm not suggesting then that everyone has to take a lot of risk in retirement. In fact, I'd argue balance, but simply that decision is going to play a role in your future potential growth of your retirement dollars. So those 5 factors, those are decisions that you need to make. And sometimes life changes, and limits what your choices are, but those are your choices. But the key thing is they are interrelated. So if you say, I've got to be done at 62, or I've got to be done at 59, that's going to drive what your choices are, your options in the other 4 variables. It might say you've got to take investment risk. You've got to find a way to spend less than what you're currently spending right now. You've got to save up more for retirement in order to retire early. You've got to find a way to get a second source of income or another source of income to help bridge the gap before Social Security, something like that. Your certified financial planner that's doing comprehensive financial planning, looking at all 6 areas of your financial life. Your present financial position, that's cash flow, debt, those sorts of things. Protection planning, that's health insurance, as well as other areas of insurance, long-term care, that sort of stuff. Tax planning, that the more your taxes eat up some of your cash flow in retirement, the more challenging your retirement's going to be. How your investments are structured, that overall long-term retirement plan is one of the factors. And then your estate plan, will you be inheriting any dollars? What's your plan to pass your dollars on to the next generation? You've got to look at all 6 of those areas to make sure that you've got a confident retirement plan. So work with your certified financial planner. Determine what that ideal age that you want to be done is. And then, well, what if you weren't able to be to retire at that point? What would be your next favorite, your next, kind of preferred age? Would you want to retire together at the same time of your spouse, or would you envision retiring at different times? Those sorts of things. Build out that stress test, and then, depending on the result of that overall planning, then make the adjustments to save more, figure out a way to pay off debt or spend less in retirement, something like that, and build a plan and get on a plan that can work. If you don't have a CFP on your team that can help you with that, contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.